I thought I was just tired. That exhaustion dragging me through each day, the way I'd lost all enthusiasm for work I used to love. I figured it was just a rough patch that would pass. But when I discovered I was actually experiencing burnout, everything shifted. What I didn't expect was that recognizing it was only the first step. The real turning point came when I built a systematic framework to pull myself back from the edge. And it actually worked. But when the exhaustion didn't lift after a week of vacation, I knew something was different. I realized stress is feeling overwhelmed for a while, but burnout is what happens when that feeling never really goes away, leaving you drained, disengaged, and struggling to function like you used to. When even rest doesn't restore your energy, when motivation disappears and you feel emotionally checked out, that's the shift I experienced. The telltale signs were unmistakable: constant fatigue that sleep couldn't touch, emotional detachment and cynicism toward work I'd once cared about, brain fog that made concentration impossible, and physical symptoms like headaches and insomnia. Unlike everyday stress, burnout doesn't resolve with a long weekend. It erodes motivation, confidence, and well-being over time, building so slowly that you normalize the changes until they become severe. That recognition was my first breakthrough, understanding I wasn't dealing with a rough patch, but with a systematic depletion that demanded a systematic solution. Once I recognized I was burned out, I started what I call my personal audit, a systematic review of what was actually draining me. I examined my boundaries first. Was I checking emails at 11 p.m.? Yes. Was I saying yes to every request that came my way? Absolutely. Then I looked at my workload distribution and discovered I was carrying responsibilities that weren't even mine. But the biggest revelation came when I assessed my values alignment. I realized there was a fundamental misalignment between what I valued and what my daily work actually demanded. This audit wasn't about blame, it was about identifying the specific patterns that were systematically depleting my energy, so I could address the root causes instead of just managing symptoms. So, when I discovered my workload was completely misaligned with my values, like realizing I was checking emails at 11 p.m. while saying family time mattered most, did you have a similar wake up call? Comment your thoughts below. Drop your answer in the comments below. Now, let me show you the recovery framework that actually worked. With my audit complete, I needed what I call my emergency toolkit, strategies to stop the immediate bleeding while I worked on the bigger fixes. Passive rest alone wasn't going to resolve my burnout. Taking time off without changing anything else often leads to the same exhaustion returning within weeks. What actually worked was active recovery, strategic interventions that addressed the root causes while rebuilding my depleted resources. I started with 3 non-negotiables. I stopped overextending myself and learned to say no to requests that weren't aligned with my priorities. I turned off email notifications after 6 p.m., started declining meetings that weren't essential, and protected my mornings for focused work. I prioritized nervous system recovery through deep breathing and mindful movement. The breakthrough came when I realized recovery wasn't about doing more self-care. It was about systematically removing what was draining me faster than I could restore it. Once my immediate bleeding stopped, I realized I needed structural changes for long-term prevention. Preventing burnout isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter and more intentionally. The boundaries I'd set were just the beginning. I had to redesign how I approached work entirely. I restructured my schedule to protect deep work blocks in the mornings when my energy was highest, then batched meetings and administrative tasks for later in the day. I established what I call energy zones, specific times dedicated to high-focus work versus collaborative activities. The hardest shift was learning to delegate and saying no to projects that weren't aligned with my core responsibilities. I created a simple decision framework. If a request didn't directly advance my primary goals or couldn't be done without sacrificing quality elsewhere, it was an automatic no. This wasn't just about time management, it was about fundamentally changing my relationship with work from reactive to intentional. 6 months into implementing this framework, I've experienced something remarkable. What started as small boundary adjustments and energy management has compounded into a completely different relationship with work. My energy levels have stabilized, my focus has sharpened, and I've rediscovered enthusiasm for projects that matter to me. The framework itself has become second nature. I automatically filter requests through my decision criteria, protect my energy zones without guilt, and maintain boundaries that once felt impossible. Most importantly, I've proven to myself that burnout recovery isn't just about getting back to where you were. It's about building a sustainable system that prevents you from ending up there again. This systematic approach gave me the structure I needed to not just survive, but actually thrive. Subscribe for more burnout recovery insights and watch this stress management video next. It goes even deeper.